On paper, Yamaha's T-Max is one of the most practical bikes in the range, with sublime comfort, storage and great claimed economy. We're so used to hearing about how this bike is an incredible inner city scooter and a workhorse for delivery riders. But I wanted to find out how capable and practical the bike is tackling a proper tour. So, in the spirit of summer, I decided to ride 700 miles across the UK in 2 days, in search of the best beach and the best chippy I could find, picking the two most highly rated locations that came up: Barafundle Bay Beach in Pembrokeshire and the Harbour Fish and Chip Shop in St Ives in Cornwall. Now, with this being my first proper ride on the T-Max, I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I knew the Tech Max was loaded with premium tech, but touring that distance over several days on a scooter did raise a few questions. How comfortable would it be at motorway speeds? How stable and agile would it feel? Would it be exciting to ride? My daily ride is an MT-09 SP, so I'm used to that level of power and performance. So, with the T-Max, I was really entering the unknown. My first leg of the journey took me across the Midlands, so a lot of motorways and open A roads. Riding these routes on my SP can be quite demanding, as the bike is a hyper naked and exposed to the elements. Riding the outside lane on board the T-Max, however, with its electronically adjustable screen, made cruising the long stretches very easy, and as I discovered, you can do it with your visor up. Sitting on the T-Max is like sitting in a comfortable high-tech armchair. Leaning the bike through large roundabouts and driving out of bends is fun, and at 220 kilos with a low centre of gravity, the T-Max always feels planted. Now, you might think a scooter can't compete when it comes to acceleration compared to a motorbike, but you've still got a 562cc parallel 2-cylinder, 47 brake horsepower, 55 Nm of torque. Combine that power and grunt with the smooth CVT transmission and the T-Max gets you up to speed quickly, especially in sport mode. Touring still pulls, but gives you better fuel range. In terms of tech, the T-Max is loaded with top tier spec that I realised early on would make my trip a lot easier. You've got cruise control, multi-stage heated grips and seat, electronically adjustable screen, all operated through a switch on the left thumb, and a crisp customisable 7-inch colour TFT display which looks really good and bright. The T-Max can easily cover 190 miles plus worth of range before the reserve light comes on. My MT by comparison manages about 130 miles, so that extra mileage really puts the T-Max in amongst the touring pigeons. When it comes to app connectivity, the T-Max has you covered to make the journey easier and send lots of useful data and live features to your smartphone. You've got the My T-Max Connect app for all the bike vitals, which includes location tracking, so when you can't remember where you've parked, you can just whip out your phone and follow the tracking software. Then you have Yamaha My Ride app to track your routes, which also gives you access to Yamaha My Link and Garmin SatNav, which you can throw on the screen and listen to in your helmet. You've also got keyless entry, which turned out to be a godsend. Filming this video on my own meant I had to make lots of random stops at the roadside to unpack my camera gear from under the seat. Being able to hop on and off the bike without fumbling around for my key just made everything easier. Locking the bike was straightforward, just press the big lock button and it secures the steering lock. Move the bike onto its centre stand and you can lock that too, making the T-Max quite immovable. I rode down the Welsh coast through Aberystwyth, but the temperature dropped to about 14 degrees, meaning the heated grips and the seat were switched on. Again, another plus for the T-Max. Had I been on another bike, I probably would have had to stop somewhere for a coffee to warm up. After 8 hours and 350 miles of riding, I reached Barafundle, and I have to admit, I was surprised at how easy the trip had been on the T-Max. I wasn't sore, I wasn't cold, I felt refreshed, and I was able to enjoy the sights. After emptying the sand from my boots, I rode to my hotel, keeping everything I needed for a few overnight stays under the seat, including shoes, overnight bag, food and drink, plus my camera gear. It was like having a car boot on the bike, and something you wouldn't normally get as standard on a motorcycle. Back on the road, I had a lot of electronic gear with me and needed to charge the GoPro a few times, but the T-Max had me covered. Plugging into the USB charging socket, job done. I rode my way down from Dunster Castle through Dartmoor National Park, and the T-Max handled the tight uneven roads really well. I also appreciated how the T-Max's exhaust note didn't spook the wildlife, as I made light work of all the steep inclines. Within a few hours, I was snaking through the cobbled street of St Ives towards my destination of the Harbour Fish and Chip Shop. Now, after 2 days of solid riding, I honestly thought I'd arrive exhausted and aching from such a long time in the saddle, but as a matter of fact, I felt energised and excited to have some food and have a look around St Ives. So, beach and chippy aside, how practical is the T-Max and can it handle a proper tour? To sum up, after riding 700 miles across every kind of road that you can really access in the UK, the T-Max made it feel very easy. Powerful, sure-footed, all that weather protection, a high-tech spec that rivals most sports tourers, it makes the journey easy. The way I look at it, when you're out riding far from home and you're perhaps a little out of your comfort zone, you need a bike you can rely on to keep you moving. You have to work together, and I felt the T-Max for this entire journey really had my back.